Hello and welcome to another TFT red flag video on the PBE on the new set 4 Fates. Today we will be exploring some of the opportunities presented to you when you pick up an Elderwood spatula. We're going to look at this Elderwood on a chosen Yuumi, and then the carry that I eventually settle on, which is a RIven. I'm going to talk about what I think is good on RIven this patch, what items I think are best in slot for her and the Yuumi in these two comps, and why I think that Elderwood spatula is almost always worth picking up if the opportunity presents itself. So already in this video we've picked up a Tahm Kench with chosen brawler trait, which gives us 3 brawlers on the field after counting the 2 1-cost Maokais in there. We managed to pick up a Vi, and we get that 4 brawler trait on the board. Eventually settle on playing the Yuumi as well as the 4 brawlers. Remember, we're able to get those 4 brawlers despite only having 3 of them, because Tahm Kench has the chosen trait, which fills out double. We put the death cap on Tahm Kench, which in addition to the bonus health points from the brawler trait, he also has about 40 flat reduction on all damage taken. Unfortunately, we find a Veigar and have to say goodbye to our froggy friend. I immediately start itemizing for the Veigar because I assume I can run Elder with this game and get a lot of stacks going starting as early as possible. This fight, however, does not go as well as I would hope, and my intent to build up a win streak or to carry through this Veigar is quickly squashed. However, throughout the course of the game, you will realize that I continue to play aggressive despite not really being one of the stronger boards in the lobby by all accounts. This is because I would rather win the fights and be amongst the top 6 fighting for a place, even if it means that I am taking the risk of not being able to econ and not be able to maybe even hit level 8 if I'm not careful. However, the way that leveling works on this set, I think it's much more valuable, much more optimal to play in a more aggressive way, and I think that will be shown throughout the course of this video as well. So despite taking 2 losses in a row, I've leveled up to 5 here, and I do not have a chosen in my comp at the moment. My fate is open, so I am trying to roll for a 2 or 3 cost chosen in this situation. Every time I open the shop, I hope to find it. I decide not to pick up this Hecarim right away. I swap the Lulu in, and I'm really trying to think about how I'm going to transition this comp into a more effective late game comp. Specifically, I have those 2 items that are really conducive to an AP carry. Am I going to be leaving the blue buff and the Rabadons on Veigar, or will I be looking for another carry for these items? One thing about the way that the meta is with chosens popping up in your store and giving you access to 2-star 4-cost units or 3-star units very early on in the game is that it can absolutely facilitate itemization, and I think in general strengthens AP itemization, because a lot more champions are going to be able to receive, a blue buff and a Rabadons than maybe whatever AD configuration that specific carry needs, whether it's Ginsu's, whether it's RFC. There's a lot more specialized items, whereas AP items seem to be generally more flexible. So I'm going to be shopping for a chosen here, hopefully high level, that is able to use these items well and that is able to carry me throughout the mid game. Here I'm able to pick up a Yuumi, a 3-cost, which actually is a very, very good chosen in this situation. She has Spirit as her chosen trait, which simply means that she'll be giving a very low amount of attack speed as soon as she casts for the first time. I initially don't hand the items off from Veigar to her because I figure Veigar is a more supportive champion and doesn't really have too much of a role to play. But as soon as I realized that I have a spatula that I could make a third offensive item on, I don't really want to play Vhagar because the way he works is if he gets rolling, he really doesn't need that many offensive items, and it's honestly better to have Spell Vamp or defensive items on him in order to just keep him casting as often as possible and as long as possible. So in this case, I decide I want to transition away from the Vhagar, and I decide I want to be able to make an Elderwood spatula, because I've done it a couple times, and I know that with the 6 Elderwood buff, it's going to be giving an insane amount of AP. It's going to be giving 150 resists after 10 seconds. It's going to be giving AD as well, and it is going to be working in cahoots with that Rabadons. So it's going to be 70%, and then additionally whatever Elderwood gives. And as soon as I see that Elderwood spatula as a possibility, I decide that it's time to transition away from the Vhagar, and I began plotting. And I actually will end up putting the Elderwood spatula on the Yuumi. I will sell my Vhagar, and I will make that Yuumi very, very powerful. So now she heals 85% of the total health of whoever she lands on, and that is before Elderwood starts stacking up. So as the fight goes on, she's going to get even more AP and going to be healing even more. This fight is actually insanely long and does not result in a win for either of us because of how long the fight goes on. The Yuumi is unwilling to let the front line that I have die, although my champions are also unable to kill his Hecarim, so we both take damage. And then I say, in the chat, I'm just trying to make some friends here because no one comments on my videos. I'm just trying to get some people to comment on at least the brokenness of this Yuumi. Zumi Yuumi with Mystic is very, very strong, and because she has chosen the blue buff is especially effective on her. Instead of having 40 mana, she has 30, which means that she's able to ult constantly, as she only needs one auto attack to get the mana she needs. Here I sell the Yuumi, however, because I think I can get something better. I level up to 7 and I waste a lot of gold rolling down, and I do not manage to pick up any units that are chosen or significantly strong. I go right past that Vhagar because I figure I can get something better. I figure I've been low rolling. I fall a bit for the gambler's fallacy. I probably should have picked up that Vhagar there and adjusted and maybe even tried for 9 Elderwood at level 8, which is sort of an Exodia comp and could have been an easy win. But I actually end up finding a great chosen to play, so the whole game kind of works out. I would like to point out that although I've been near the top in terms of health for most of the game, the way that I've been playing has been hyper-aggressive, and I've never really had any economy to back that up. Here is where I make a really big mistake, and I put these items on. I should have put Gunblade or Gauntlet if I wanted to itemize her right then, or GA. This actually will make my Riven, in my opinion, very weak, even in the early stage where Ludens would be beneficial. It was a lapse in judgment to do Ludens because I believe that she would be ulting very constantly, and I forgot that Ludens scales flatly, so it ended up being the wrong decision. But I may be getting ahead of myself. I picked up a Dusk chosen Riven, which gives her so much AP, in addition to being Elderwood, which will scale up the AP, and she has the Rabadons and the AP from the Ludens, which will end up giving her at the peak of her Elderwood at the moment around 300% bonus spell damage. However, I don't have the 6 Elderwood yet, so she's not as strong as she could be. And I will also be hitting 4 Dusk, which will increase the AP bonus from Dusk to 50% for champions that are part of the trait. So that would be the Riven. And she actually ends up being incredibly strong, and just having picked her up and slam these items that I had ready for her, I'm able to finish second place, despite for the entirety of the game playing recklessly, wasting my econ, and not really having a good plan. Even though I didn't even itemize the Riven as best as I could have, I'm still able to finish second. This Lee Sin is also a very, very nice 5 cost to have picked up because of the way of his ult kicking units off the board. It doesn't really matter that he doesn't fit in with any of the synergies. He can still be incredibly useful. And he has a very low mana cap for such a strong ability. It's 65 mana. So with the blue buff, he's able to ult pretty frequently. You can see him kicking people about here. There goes one kick. That doesn't seem like it should have gone off. But throughout the fights, in addition to the disruption from the Lee Sin, obviously the frontline Maokai and the Elderwood champions in general ramping up. The one champion that is doing most of the work here, however, is this Riven. We can see her AP go all the way up to 570 at this point, which is insane, falling back to 500, and then the fight concludes. That is the most AP I think I've ever seen on a single champion, through the Elderwood, through Dusk, and through, I believe at the end of the fight, there's some sort of mechanic which sped it up. I think it was supposed to cap out at 250 something, or 290, but we got to see 500 AP on that Riven, which is the highest I've ever seen. Elderwood as a comp is pretty good. You have the Ashe with the Infinity Edge. She'll be doing a lot of damage. By this point, the Veigar, even the replacement, has a couple of stacks. And as fights go longer and longer, different carries will be able to pick up the slack for whichever units get got preemptively. At this point, I am looking for a 4th Dusk champion, and I find the Cassiopeia, so I decide to start saving up for level 8, because I don't really think hitting the Veigar or the Ashe is going to benefit me as much as getting 4 Dusk, which will give my Riven, who's doing the bulk of the work, you can see the damage there, an additional 50% spell power, which I think would be the priority here. And I'll just keep saying it because I feel like it is the one biggest mistake, not putting that Ludens on the Riven. I think best in slot for here would have been probably Ionic Spark, another Rabadons, or Quicksilver Sash, just because the only weakness that Riven has in this build is that she is susceptible to getting CC'd. But I think Ionic Spark, the magic resistance, would prove very significant, as it's based on percentage, and as she already has so much spell power that it will be incredibly effective relative to the situation. Unfortunately, to play this for Dusk, we have to take the Lee Sin out because there's not enough room for everyone, and we want those 2 Elderwood brawlers in our front line. Here you can just watch the Riven go to town. Another good possibility for her, and this is a stretch because you already have 1 spatula, but Riven with Mage Spatula is particularly good this patch. She casts twice and gets the shield twice. And maybe a Dusk Riven with Mage Hat would be much more impressive if she could get mages up to 6, which would give her a lot of additional AP, as would Dusk, and then having the Rabadons would probably be slightly more AP than this build. Here we can see the Riven drop slow pretty early, but is able to just keep shielding throughout the fight, to the point where it doesn't matter that she's eventually able to just run them down through the CC, through the damage, and through the burst. But that probably speaks to some mistakes I've made in positioning. I probably should start her over to the side and not in the center where she's more vulnerable. At this stage in the game, I'm thinking about how to best use my Zephyr in the coming fights. I haven't slammed it yet because I'm feeling pretty confident with this 4 Dusk Riven, and I don't feel like I have any need to slam it. It's better to keep it unslammed if I think I can win these fights easily, because when I do slam it, I will place it as the fight starts and my opponent will have no time to react. I'm telling you this because it will happen in the fight, and I will make a point of showing this. Actually quite concerning to me is the Zephyr that Large Scooter picks up here, who is who I'm scouting. The way I set up the Vhagar and the Cassiopeia, however, make it so that I can slam the Zephyr on either of them, depending on who I get in the lobby. At this point, I should be using my gold to save up and try for level 9, and if I feel like I'm not quite going to make it to level 9, to roll down and try to hit my Ezreal, my Nunu, and any other Elderwoods that I haven't gotten to the level 2 unit. This is the player that ends up beating me, and unfortunately, I do not take first in this game. Here we pick up the Dusk Cassiopeia. She has all of that damage from Dusk as well, so she's hitting pretty significantly. She provides an AoE stun, and I am positioning her incorrectly here. She should be more forward so that she can hit more units. In addition to her ult's damage and CC, she also makes units take, in this scenario, 17%, but without the AP bonuses, 10%, I believe, more damage from all sources after casting her ult. Here we get into the final round before the carousel against the other player who has beaten me. He has this massive Hecarim. He's also played Elderwood, but he seems to have committed to it more early. And for some reason he's playing 8 Elderwood, which still is able to beat me. Perhaps it's better just to play the champions with the buff than prioritize anything else. Here is where I'm able to pick up a mage hat. Although it is great to prevent him from getting that, I don't really have a unit to put it on. In the best case scenario, I would put it in the place of the Ludens on that Riven and absolutely demolish this fight, but because I'm not able to, I put it on the Cassiopeia, who is able to ult twice, and actually this fight is much closer than the ones earlier on in the game. However, I do not have the damage to get past his wall of 3-star Elderwood units.